We are approaching the conclusion of the third group stage here at the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series circuit event taking place in Leipzig, Germany, as we make our way to the top 16 to find out who the first circuit champion and seed to the global finals will be. I'm Athenius. Welcome back. I'm joined on the desk by Wardy and Maynard, two wonderful, esteemed gentlemen. How have you guys been doing today? We had a lot of matches. Things have started to heat up a little bit towards the end.
I've been having a blast, mate. It's been good fun. Some pretty crazy series. A lot of tough to predict results. I mean, we got the sort of one correct, but I think all the other series haven't gone exactly the way I expected.
It's been a bit loopy, Wardy, huh?
I think getting hot has been the right word, because Bly was on fire against you, Thermal, so...
Noise. And I think the result just came in that Showtime 2-0'd Hearthstone in that winners match. So be moving forward, we do have our next series that will be coming up. It is going to be MaSa facing off against DnS, so some Terran versus Protoss action for you. And it's been interesting. Roddy and I were talking a little bit before. The TvPs, there's been some good Terran results against Protoss, despite many many negative comments made about the matchup recently.
There's a couple neggy Nancy's out there. You know,
yeah.
Some Terrans have a few things to say about this matchup.
My favorite is probably Hero Marine, who's actually dumpstered everybody so far that he's gone up against in this tournament.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah. The guy that complains the most is actually moving forward very, very nicely, playing very well in his home country. But I think that makes things interesting, right? The last match that we saw was a Kellizer kind of getting slapped a little bit earlier too.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where Kellizer is right now, but hopefully he's doing all right. Because I heard that he was having a bit of a rough time against Nice.
Yeah, we were for those wondering a little bit at the break, of course, the matches have all been being played live. There's a lot of games going on, so we wanted to wait a little bit, wait for the match to clear up.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have updated group brackets, but if we do, we will show you them to get you up to speed on the other results that have been going on. But it's been a lot of games being played. Some of the players have been eliminated now, as we're talking about guys like Drogo being knocked out, guys like a Laser moving forward. And we can see, of course, Cyril made it out of his group. Not a big surprise. Stefano eliminated, so Scarlet will have a chance now to play against Namshar to keep herself alive in this tournament and make her way out.
You know, Scarlet's been doing really good against Namshar lately. The Namshar is like an incredible ZVZ player. And we're seeing
the elimination match, of course, here between DnS and MaSa.
This match matters quite a bit. So, like you mentioned, an elimination match. DnS's PVT looks pretty incredible lately.
Yeah.
He's been turning a lot of heads lately. Like, you know, people, when they think about your European Protosses, they're thinking about your Manas, your Showtimes, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But DnS is honestly up for contention as one of the best Protosses in Europe. Like, he is incredible. So.
Well, DnS has just been in Korea, right? So he's been practicing and he's been putting in results. He didn't make it into GSL, for example, but you look online and he's had a lot of good results in bigger online tournaments. He went and took down Neeb in a Ting event, for example. I mean, he's looked pretty unstoppable, honestly, and some of his great results have been against Terran players as well. So this could be kind of dangerous here. And look at that lineup of players he's just beat. Jon Snow, TLO, Soul, and Time. Now, they're not your Neebs and your Serals, but they are some darn good players to go for.
They're not bloody bad.
Yeah, it makes things interesting when we consider the perception of the Terran versus Protoss matchup right now. If DnS is good at it, it should bode very well for him going up against MaSa. MaSa had Kellizer's role in the 2016 WCS Circuit, where we saw him perform very well, and we talk about those top fours that he had in 2016. But his heat simmered off a little bit. The focus was more on Kellizer and Special in 2017. So this then becomes, if MaSa wants to continue to have that success and prop himself up as a contender for 2018, he's got to make it out of the round of 32.
Yeah, he had a couple of round 16 results last year, but he failed to deliver when it came to taking it one step further. But honestly, his TvP hasn't looked too bad lately either. I mean, he just played against Neeb in the semifinals at Cheesadelphia last weekend, and he lost 1-3, but taking a map off of Neeb, and in another game, he was very close as well. He was just like a missing base that he didn't quite see. So really here, I could see MaSa and DnS going the distance and really giving us some crazy games.
Yeah, I think the series is actually going to be deceivingly close. Like, a lot of people would probably favor DnS. MaSa, like you said, it's been a little bit of a while between drinks for him. But I think that this is going to be, you know, just knowing MaSa and knowing DnS is going to be a very, very close series.
Cool. Any of the other results from this tournament so far? Any other players that you've been following, catching your eye, or anything surprising either of you as we wait for the players to get ready?
I've been enjoying watching the Chinese players play a little bit. Yeah. I believe Probe got knocked out by Cyan, so he plays against Cyan plays against Euthermal now in the decider match.
Oh, yeah.
That could be pretty cool. It's a rematch from the first game they played in the round of 32, but I just think that, like, XY against Lambo as well was also pretty close, and I really could see a couple of Chinese players making top 16 here, which would be awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see the players from the scenes that we don't get to see too much get any good results. What are you following right now? What match are you taking a look at?
I'm going to be following a ZVZ between TLO and True.
Okay.
That one's pretty cool. What do you got over there, Woody?
I'm just getting into Nice Harston, so it seems as though Nice must have eliminated Kalazur, right?
There you go. All right.
So the losers match, so that's kind of interesting.
That's a big upset.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Big upset.
Kalazur being knocked out of the tournament at this point, that's pretty painful considering.
Nice as well. It was not someone that they would expect to take out Kelazar. Like maybe if he was in a group with you, Neeb or Harston or someone like that, or a special, then yeah, sure, maybe. But Nice.
A lot of these games have been playing out, and I do believe there's been a few other streams as well showing the games for this tournament. Of course, we'll be banging out the rest of them as we get through the bracket stage tomorrow and then move our way to the semis and the finals on Sunday. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the broadcast and the games. I think a good TvP. We've gotten a pretty good mix of matchups. Damn near everything except what? PvP and ZVZ on mainstream?
Which isn't a bad thing, necessarily. I'm sure we'll have lots of ZVZ later on.
Yeah, that's...
You know how WCS events like to go.
Very true. We're just waiting for the players to get ready to come up on stage as, of course, it's getting a little bit later here now in Germany. People warming up, keeping themselves going. What have your thoughts been on the maps so far? We've seen a couple of interesting games. Do you feel like the predictions that we kind of made came true? Abiogenesis seems like people have been pretty aggressive on it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people expected that, and it certainly has delivered in that regard. I haven't seen as much of, like, Eastwatch as I expected, to be honest. A nice big map. I thought that Zergs might want to pick that one, but they haven't. They've been very, very comfortable on Catalysts and Neon Violet and that sort of thing.
I think the issue with Eastwatch is that it's got a very new concept, which is that it doesn't have any ramps in the middle of the map. So it's all low ground, and it's instead kind of made interesting by a lot of wall-offs and chokes, which is a very different concept to what we've seen in the past when it's purely about that. So it's maybe just players aren't quite comfortable yet because it takes a bit more adjustment to.
We have been playing on Abyssal Reef for a year, so.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? So it's very, very different to what we've been seeing in the meta, and it's also one of those maps that very well can go to kind of the late split map sort of scenario quite easily, and I think a lot of players don't necessarily want to play that, or very rarely do players match up against each other that want that as well. So that's been kind of taken out.
All right, well, we'll dive into the rest of that in a sec. The players are ready to be introduced on stage. It's been a nice long day as we've gotten through these games. Anna, are you ready to kick off this last match?
It's been a long day, but not long enough. Good thing we get to do this tomorrow, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll have plenty more as we get into the best of fives too.
Well, this is going to be the last match of the day, and like you guys said, I think it's going to be a very good one. We have Terran versus Protoss, Canada versus France. We have MaSa, a long-standing member of the North American player base, someone that we can count on to give us good games, and then of course DnS, who has been giving really strong showings online and in the off-season, so I think we are going to see a killer matchup. Let's hear it now for our players, MaSa and DnS.
Good TvP coming in to round out our group stage number 3 in elimination match to see who moves on and who goes home as this series blooms. And MaSa is a player that probably, I mean, if you're talking about the foreign scene, you hear about him a lot because he's a player that kind of stands out amongst the American players. He performs very well in the Canadian events. DnS is a very good player, but when we talk about Protoss, in the last year or two, it's pretty much all been, if you go 2 years back, it was like Showtime, but last year it was pretty much all on Neeb to be that player. But everybody, you follow DnS, he is a very good player. He is well known in the European scene for being a good Protoss. What makes him so good, Wardy?
I think he's just really the next up-and-comer, right? Like, he's starting to take that step of going from the online player who can win a couple of series against the pros online and look good, so he's actually getting a lot of offline experience. He's starting to go far. He hit round of 16 in a WCS event last year, and that experience really goes a long way, I think. And, he's committed, right? He puts in the hours, he studies VODs, he's very serious about how he plays, and I think that helps an absolute ton when it comes to getting as good as he's gotten lately.
Any other thoughts on this matchup, Maynard, as the players get ready?
I love seeing North America versus EU. I love seeing it, and it's happening once again.
It is always a good matchup.
Classic rivalry of regions.
Do we expect DnS to play aggressively here then, with maybe Stalkers or something against MaSa?
I think just gateway heavy will be kind of his style. I think he is one of those players who likes to be out on the map, control the map for the blink play, and poke and prod, find the openings, get a warp prism out there at all times as well. But MaSa will be very interesting to watch too with those Widowmine drops.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very drop heavy, very multitask heavy MaSa. Like his play's always been like that.
All right, sounds good. Let's find out. Let's head into this next matchup. It's going to be MaSa versus DnS.
Very excited for this last match of the day. I am Zombergub casting with Rotterdam. What do you think about this match?
It's a rematch. They've already went up against each other in this group, and earlier MaSa took DnS out 2-0. I am a little bit surprised by it, but I don't think it really means that much going into this final deciding series. I agree with everything the guy said at the desk. DnS is ultra good. He's been insane online lately, but at the same time I also had the pleasure of casting him in the finals of the People Images League, where he went up against Bunny, the Korean Terran player. And as good as DnS is, he often has obvious holes in his play as well. I think sometimes he gets over-aggressive. What Wardy said is spot on. He likes to be out on the map, but sometimes I feel he doesn't have to be out on the map, and he's still putting himself in dicey positions, so there's a good chance that he has already learned of that previous series where he fell against his opponent.
All right. Well, we are starting things off on Abiogenesis, one of the new maps in the top left. As the red Protoss, he is DnS.
Obviously a really big series for him right now. Being good online and having a couple of great results is awesome. But in the end, if you bomb out here in the round of 32, that's not what you're hoping for. And over here on the right bottom side, we're looking in the main base of our Canadian Terran. Made it to the semi-finals of Cheeseadelphia just last week. It is MaSa.
That's right. Made it to the semifinals. Unfortunately got knocked out by Neeb, but that is common practice for many players.
If you make it as far to go into to go up against Neeb in the semifinals, you just had a good run. You know, you just have to take it. It's like, all right, great run, Neeb. Well done.
Yeah.
Good luck in the finals, but I'm pretty proud of my performance.
And as Wardy was talking about, he didn't manage to take off a map and then probably should have gotten another one. But MaSa, he does have very strong feelings about this matchup, as strong as he has performed against Protoss, even during all of his weak points. So that always can affect a player.
Yeah, MaSa has an interesting backstory as well, because MaSa had a really good 2015. That was the year where he had a couple of great results, even made it into the semi-finals of the WCS Summit Stop back then. We had in Tour, he fell against Showtime. Showtime ended up winning that event. But 2015 was a great year. MaSa then decided to take the year off from studying, went all out in 2017, but he kind of just felt a little bit bummed out, or 2016, 2017-ish, that period. And he said like he just felt a little burned out. All the free time, it didn't really do well for him. Perhaps too much free time, wasn't really exactly sure how to balance living a healthy lifestyle while still practicing a lot. Right now he's back to studying, but it seems like his results are picking up again.
Yeah, well, I think MaSa will be the first person to tell you that the less pressure he puts on himself, the better he'll perform. That happens for a lot of players, in fact. And I don't know what his thoughts and expectations are for this tournament, but I believe 2016 was JMac Austin, where he made it quite far. Fortunately, he did not replicate that the next year. He's definitely looking to get back into, you know, that top four, basically. You know, he actually did really well.
Yep, he had a couple of great runs in the past. I like his opening so far. It's a 2-Rex opening, and I think it makes a lot of sense. If this is a map where you open up with a factory, it's such a small map, you may get some damage done with your Widowmine drop or your Hellion drive-by, whatever you decide to do with your factory. But then can you deal with the counter-attack? We all know that pros players these days love to grab 7 Stalkers, run across the map. And since this map is so small, I think that would have been very risky to play it like that. So actually, like his 2-Rex opening, just get a couple of additional bio units out, and maybe you can make something happen with a quick stim timing or something among those lines.
That is an excellent point, but you know, we have here DnS going for the Stargate opener. I myself am not a fan of that in PvT, to be honest. I think that Twilight Council or Robo openers have just become really, really strong. The Stargate opener has the same weaknesses that it did before the patch, basically. And I think that MaSa might even feel maybe a little bit comfortable against it, but there are still Protosses going for Phoenix Adept, and it's not uncommon. Just preference.
I definitely agree with you. I also prefer a Robo opening on a small map like this, or maybe on the bigger maps, just open Twilight into Robo, get super quick blink. Now, the build of MaSa is interesting. When I see builds like this, I always get a poke bunny feeling. Pokemon, he loves these kind of pushes. You know, you just get a bunch of on-stim Marines, you get a quick tank, and you run across the map. Now, the Oracle is going to be incredibly important here. Not only should the Oracle spot this out as quickly as possible, but maybe the Oracle can force out a couple of missile turrets, pick off a couple of Marines, and above all, just buy time for DnS, because time is what he needs against such a push that MaSa obviously wants to execute here.
I was going to mention this exact build on our next map, which would have been Catalyst, another of the small maps, the small map that we had in the last map pool, but Abiogenesis is, of course, the new one here, and this is actually working out, or could work out so well for MaSa. A lot of Protosses have trouble with this push, including Neeb. That's how he got that one win against him on Catalyst with a push like this.
Yep, the rough thing about it is, especially if you open up with a Stargate, what, is he going to build bunkers already? Is he just bunkers and missile turrets?
Yeah, you start with a missile turret, right? And that helped out so much against a DT2 base that happened in another game. But this time with the Stargate can help out if you think that Phoenixes can maybe lift up some tanks. The missile turret can take care of that. And this just simply isn't being scouted despite the Stargate opener. The scouting actually isn't so great. Finally, he sees it. The army is still about halfway across the map, so he's going to have to cancel the bunker. Doesn't start, unfortunately, is going to die.
Yeah, this is a good job at DnS. I'm surprised he's going up to 3 bases that fast. He needs to buy a lot of time with his Stalkers. Now, it is obviously excellent for DnS that he knows exactly what he's playing against, that he knows what MaSa's plans. What is MaSa just going to abandon his initial plan? Or I still feel there is a big window where DnS, because he opened Stargate, is not going to have obviously Colossus, not going to have Blink, not going to have Charge. So maybe Marines and tanks can absolutely make some magic work. Don't forget about those sentries on the high ground. MaSa doesn't know about it.
I think he might have seen one attack the missile turret, and it's just so common that that would be just one force field, right? And you're done. But the other ramp is a little bit larger, and there is that chance that DnS underestimates the tanks. If they focus fire the sentries, suddenly you're out of a Guardian Shield, you're out of force fields. The Marines can do damage even if they don't have stim.
A couple of Adepts going to shade in as well. Adepts could potentially help out a lot. They're very tanky against tanks. So far, good focus fire though by these tanks. The Oracle's not really doing anything, and I don't think this is playing out that great for DnS. All of his units are just disappearing.
Yeah.
MaSa has 2 tanks surviving. Now he's got a bunch of Marines against a no-army DnS.
This is exactly what happened. I think DnS just underestimated it, right? Like, he thought, like, a couple tanks on Sip Marines, how bad could it really be? But the focus fire on the clumped up Stalkers, which tanks really are what they're most effective against, plus those sentries that do not have a lot of health, worked out so well. And an unsieged tank is going to be able to take out the rest of these Stalkers. DnS trying to get to charge, but so far off.
DnS got nothing. He's got no Robo, no Immortals on the way. He had 4 army supply for a split second. Now it's 8. He has a couple of Stalkers, but that one tank is very, very problematic. Because how is he supposed to get close on top of that tank without charge, without Adepts? And these Stalkers don't have Blink.
Yeah, he doesn't have a Robo at all. One of the ways he can take care of it are the Stalkers. The tanks are in a bad position. The tanks might be able to take them out fast enough, or the Stalkers rather, might be able to take them out fast enough. But then Immortal, of course, is a good thing to have as well, but he's not going to have it. His Natural's under siege. His third base isn't really going to mine here, and MaSa has such a quick rally on this map. He's even going for a third base now. And finally, I assume getting to a starport, of course, given up in this game for quite some time. He'll need it eventually.
Charge is about to finish up, or maybe like 10 seconds away is. We can see it on the right side of our screen. A couple of additional gates are going to finish up, but the damage has already been done. MaSa's up 13 workers. He may very well just win the game here, but even if he doesn't, he's in a fantastic position.
The charge house, I guess, are going to give him a problem because those medevacs aren't on the way, but the tank barely survives. And MaSa is really close to getting top, even further production. A couple gateways, the Robo that he only just built here. It looks like DnS is going to be able to clean this up with a couple of charge lots, but that was a lot of damage. That was all of his army wiped out. That was 9 probes. The third base wasn't mining for some time. MaSa did get himself a victory there, but not the game victory.
Yeah, but a massive one for sure. One of the big problems for DnS now as well is that he's got 0 map vision. He has no observers. The Oracles got picked off as well. So how on earth is DnS supposed to figure out where these medeffects are coming from? MaSa can always follow this up with an 8 Marine stim drop in the main, take a weird route, maybe try to hit the natural. He can, of course, keep all of his units together as well and just go for a big push. But DnS is playing in the dark, and that's not what you ever want to do against the Terran. And, well, there we have it. First drop. I think it makes perfect sense what MaSa is doing.
Yeah, I mean, he can go for the Widowmine drop that will probably get a lot of probe damage. He could have also just done a push with them, I think. Like, he doesn't really have to worry about much except charge lots. And though his upgrades will be actually even for some time, with +1 finishing up now, Widowmines don't care about upgrades. If they get a shot off, they're getting a really good shot off. But distraction at the front, distraction in the main, something is going to go down here for DnS.
Yep, I love this by MaSa as well. He's showing his army. DnS is going to take this fight. DnS probably thinks like, hey, this is going all right, but don't forget about the Widowmine drop. Oh, lots of probes going to go down here.
Boom!
Jesus.
15 probes go down in that natural base, and DnS is having quite some trouble. He does kill a couple SCVs. MaSa just simply wasn't expecting a couple Zealots to go into his third base, but he still has control over the game.
Absolute massacre. 39 probes against 61 SCVs. MaSa just dominating this game. I like MaSa's build, and you already said in the beginning that you were not a big fan of the Stargate. I think it's safe to say the Stargate did not work out against this build. Imagine, replace that Stargate with a robotics facility. He has an observer early on, he sees it coming, he chrono boosts out 2 Immortals instead of 2 Oracles, and I think he kills that push without really that many issues.
Absolutely. That specific push is really tough to deal with, but even in general, I find that tank pushes do better against Stargate openers, but especially such an aggressive opener on an aggressive map. Once again, the Widowmine drops in the main base. Not as many probes, looks like DnS does spot it.
Because he killed all of them already, and that's a pretty good sign for MaSa.
It absolutely is. Of course, Terran's got to be afraid of the eventual upgrade deficit, which MaSa has found himself in again. Snipes that, doesn't he? But the EMPs, the Widow Mines, all will be very helpful here. Little overstim, so he's got to back away, go back to his Widow Mines, but it's okay.
Yeah, Zealots are fantastic units against Terran, but not if you're down in economy. Not by a little bit, but he's down a lot. And that means that Terran is just going to kite, and eventually just going to get out macroed. Gets the Stalker there as well with a couple of additional probes. I think this could potentially be the final holdover if DnS. The force field's kind of working against him as right now as well, but there's too much firepower in this army of MaSa.
Yeah, just tap the Immortal, there it goes. That was the only powerhouse unit that DnS really had. He's trying to go into Blink and Charge, but that's it. MaSa takes game number 1. Not the easiest, but certainly looks easy, yeah.
Great execution on his first push, though. I was a little bit worried when you saw those Marines. The army was stacked, and the tanks looked very exposed, right? And obviously the Marines didn't have stim yet in that phase in the game. And you're looking at it, you're like, if MaSa makes a mistake and that army gets cleaned up, he loses all momentum. It's 3 base against 2. When DnS went up to 3 bases, I was a little bit shocked. I was like, you know what you're playing against. And you also know that if you just stomp that push, you're going to be in a great position. DnS felt so confident that he could still go up to 3 bases. But I think it's safe to say that the focus fire of the tanks was perfect. DnS probably hoping that he can shade in the adepts. Tanks will shoot at the adepts and do a little bit of friendly fire as well, and then he just cleans it up. But MaSa had excellent control and excellent execution in that first crucial push. And from that point on, it was smooth sailing for our Terran.
Yeah, make no mistake, other builds still fall to what MaSa did, but yeah, that Stargate maybe not the best. We are going to go into Catalyst next, and this is the map that I was going to talk about this scenario on, but you know, after this had played out however it did. So does MaSa do the exact same thing?
I think it's going to be a very different opening. I think he's going to play factory opening here, maybe try to go for a mine drop, maybe a 6 Marine mine drop in the main, couple Hellions in the natural, because DnS is a very aggressive Protoss, and if his units are out of position, Hellions could potentially do a lot of damage. I think the build is great, but I don't think it's something you want to do 2 games in a row.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I mean, Catalyst plays the same strengths, but he's going to be more on guard for certain for that. Now, I don't know about factory openers, but MaSa certainly does them. He goes for the Hellion openers, which, you know, there's a very simple problem with Hellions for Protoss in that while the Hellions those are scary for the army can't kill them fast enough. So they still get to the probe line and still do damage. But MaSa's also shown us a couple of quadruple Widowmine drops, so 8 Widowmines in total. You know, one of the main, one of the natural seems to guaranteed get some type of damage. The real key, though, to any of those types of openers is getting to the tanks fast enough to hold on to whatever the Protoss throws back at you.
Very curious. Obviously a big series right now for DnS, because all those amazing online results that he has achieved over the last few months, they won't mean much if he bombs out here in the round of 32. MaSa looking confident, but also knows that he's not there just yet. Cool thing as well is that if we would go to a decider, it is going to be played on Acid Plant, which is also one of our new maps, and it's quite a big map. Some people say, it's not that big. I think it's really big, especially once you get set up on 4 bases. There is a lot of area to attack, but it's often better to split up your army, and obviously once armies start splitting up, I think it you know, in general, the games last a little bit longer because there are less game-deciding fights immediately.
Certainly the new maps have some tank spots. That's usually more something you think of for TVZ, though, not TvP, even though we do obviously see tanks in the matchup. But I was very interested in that MaSa vetoed specifically Black, Pink, and Neon, the 2 older maps. So perhaps he wanted to take advantage of the new maps, just, you know, considers Terran pretty strong, or he knew the couple of tank spots. Or he just wanted to throw a wrench into things. Figure like, oh, I'll throw the person off that Protoss generally doesn't do so well, these new maps. But we are into an oldie but goodie, I suppose. Catalyst. is going to be happening here right now. Looks like we have an update. Lambo actually took out Neeb.
Damn, Lambo really on fire. I expected a lot of things of Lambo, but Lambo winning back-to-back very tough groups, taking out Neeb, the 3-time WCS champion of last year. What a way to start the weekend for our German Zerg. But let's focus on this one. Over here on the right bottom side of Catalyst, we're looking at the main base of our Canadian Terran. It is MaSa.
And in the top left, as the red Protoss for France, it is DnS.
Super curious to see how DnS opens here. He knows that tournament life is on the line. He cannot make any more errors. And like you said, this is also one of the smaller maps, but I'm still expecting him to switch it up here. I'm expecting a Robo into a Twilight and just a quick Blink build. Those builds are just so strong in this current patch, and there's almost no reason not to do it. Even the build that MaSa did in the previous game, if you spot it out in time, you chrono boost out an Immortal, you pop a Guardian Shield. That's cute. This is actually quite cute. The mind games here are very real. If you guys wonder why is he doing this, because he's only doing this with one barracks. Some Protoss players, they panic. I'm one of them. If I scout this, I'm like, oh lord, where's the proxy factory? You know, is it like what am I facing? Is this a Turex proxy? Is there factory? It would be very, very useful for DnS to scout this barracks.
All right. Looks like he's going to scout the barracks just barely, but he was checking for something. He knew that he wouldn't have to panic quite so much, but did the panic already set in? He went for some X-Core anyways, for Nexus.
Yeah, and Cybercore is halfway done, so this Nexus could have been quite a bit quicker. I still like it though by DnS, because sometimes Protoss players can be a little bit stubborn. They're like, I think I can defend any cheese with a 1-gate fast expand. And that could perhaps be true, but if you know for sure that it's a proxy Cyclone or a proxy 1-1-1, do you really need the expand? Like, no, it's actually better to get those extra units, because as long as you hold, you're going to be in great position.
Yeah.
I like what MaSa tried to do there, even though it didn't work out. A little bit of mind games, keep your opponent on edge.
MaSa's certainly the type of person to go for like even double Cyclone proxy, like really abuse the proxies, the cheeses, and that's sometimes how he gets himself back into a series. But of course, he is up 1-0 and currently starting things off as last game. Reactor on the first barracks. See if he has a tech lab to the second, or he continues pumping just pure Marine tank, holds off on that starport. I mentioned like the build that he did, it works against other builds, and it works even maybe against someone who expects it.
Yeah, and actually, I think Twilight before Robo is a little bit risky here by DnS. I don't mind it. Like I'm a big fan of it, but this is one of those smaller maps that if MaSa, this is nice timing by the way, not SCV, the SV is gonna hide in the command center, which means that the orbital is a tiny bit later, and then MaSa realized like, I don't want to delay my orbital that much for a single SCV. But, I mean, you're going to get quick Blink, but there is a good chance that MaSa is going to try to run across the map with Stalkers and a tank before Blink is even done. MaSa's playing with fire here, by the way. Not having a bunker, he's going to end up losing a couple of Marines, and he's not going to be able to mine off the low ground.
Yeah, this is maybe where DnS being aggressive could be really scary, but MaSa nearly taking out that Adept doesn't quite grab it. He will eventually have enough production, of course, and DnS is not following this up with anything yet.
This is actually super nice. That Adept is providing high ground vision. This Stalker can kite Marines for days if you do it right. And I think DnS is doing everything right, except for the fact that he's not using his Twilight yet. I'd love to see him start either Blink, for my part charge, if you really want to get quick charge here, but use it for something. If you get a quick Twilight, you got to use it.
Do you think he's reading into how many Marines MaSa has?
I think he should just start an upgrade. There is no need, because he can't spend his money otherwise. Look at his bank right now. 250 minerals, 260 gas. There's absolutely no need. DnS was not paying attention there, loses his first Stalker. A little bit sloppy and takes a lot of damage on that other Stalker as well. This was still, what? No, I want to say this is still good for DnS, and somehow this Stalker survives. But I think it could have been a lot better if he, A, keeps that Stalker alive and does even more damage against the no bunker Terran, and B, start Blink a lot faster, because this Blink could have been halfway done.
Of course, MaSa never got a scout on DnS's tech, so he's building a safety missile turret, which is unfortunate. 100 minerals going into really not much. But you're absolutely right about that Blink. I mean, he had enough gas and minerals, and it may be a sign of his mental state right now. As Adept goes down, that Stalker, even though he didn't quite kill it, is going to be very weak for the defense. And now DnS realizes, okay, it's the exact same thing. How am I going to defend this?
Okay, he's going to chrono boost out an Immortal. I assume he's going to have high ground advantage here, so he can get a couple shots off, run back, a few more shots. The most important thing for DnS here is that he's going to force this tank to siege away as far as possible, or perhaps not even let this Terran army come up the ramp at all. So these Stalkers, there was a backup tank there. That's a trap. So I don't think you can go any further, DnS. But as long as you keep this army army at bay, it's totally fine because you're getting an Immortal, you can get another round of warping, gateway units, and most importantly, that blink is getting close to finishing up.
Yeah. MaSa, really nice position with that tank. I didn't even see it coming, but DnS now has to defend a third base. It's going to be a little bit trickier. Stalker comes from behind. AI there messing up. Blink not quite done, so both tanks will be able to siege up, and that rally is still pretty quick.
Just wait for the Immortal. I think if you have an Immortal here, you right-click on those tanks. As long as you keep that Nexus alive, like that Immortal is going to tank some shots, and then DnS is going to go for it. DnS, don't lose your Nexus. He's going to lose it.
Oh, he's going to lose it. If it's Gargo Fired, he does lose it. All 400 minerals gone. The blink past the tanks, but the good focus fire from MaSa is targeting what he can kill. The Immortal probably would have taken too many shots, so he is going to trade out as best as possible and grab the Nexus.
I mean, that's in the end, DnS cleans up this army, yes, but he didn't cancel the Nexus. He straight up lost it, and then he also lost a couple of Stalkers in the mix as well. So I think after the horrific start that MaSa had in this game, this was almost the best case scenario. Gets another Stalker for his efforts there. Does MaSa have enough at home to hold? I think he does with a tank on the high ground. He has another tank there as well. I think that was the best case scenario for MaSa. I don't want to say that he's ahead in this game, but I kind of like it for MaSa.
Yeah, I do as well. We'll see really what happens in the mid-game, basically. MaSa has to wait for Sim, which is still a fair way off. Bringing tanks into a mid-game TvP, it gets worse and worse and worse. And now DnS kind of setting up a contain, not letting him get away with some freebie third.
The thing is, though, MaSa is following this up with Rex number 4 and 5, and he's just going to make a massive 2-base push with an insane amount of Marines, a couple of Marauders as well. DnS is going to go for it here. I'm not sure against 3 tanks, a couple of Marines and Marauders as well. He doesn't even get the tank in the end. Well, finally, but not before he ends up losing 2 more Stalkers. The biggest problem is, though, that DnS's army, like if he gets charged as well on a bunch of gateways, is it super strong? Yes, that's obviously the problem that Terran has been facing in this patch. But it's only super strong if you're at least even in upgrades, but preferably you always want to be a set of upgrades ahead. And I am not sure if DnS is going to be able to be an upgrade or a set of upgrades ahead. And this army of MaSa, I think it's going to be very big compared to the army of DnS. DnS is going to be in a world of trouble to hold this, and he cannot afford to lose any more units carelessly.
I agree. The amount of Stalkers that were lost also means that while Blink is usually very powerful to have out on the map, he's continuing to lose Stalkers. 3 Stalkers, Blink on top of the tank, will not one-shot it. Marines from behind are going to take out the rest of them. And DnS is just losing too many units, I think, to deal with a 2-base.
Yeah, that is amazing by MaSa there. He split up his bio units. He's going to get all 4 of those Stalkers. That is such a painful loss because those Stalkers are crucial in slowing down this push that MaSa wants to make. If the Stalkers are here, you can like kite a couple units, you pick up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Marines before the army arrives on your side of the map, and that can truly make the difference between holding or not. I think DnS is in a lot of trouble. He's already down 13 army supply, just warped in a bunch of units. MaSa's gonna go for it, and this push is going to be very scary.
Yeah, it is. Now, DnS is going to have his upgrades. All the Chrono Boost went into that. Lucian Phoenix is going to see a very late 3rd CC, but I believe he would expect that at this point. The push is coming, but did he see which direction? He might be anticipating the right side. The left side hasn't been scouted. Now an observer comes through, barely sees the edge of the army. The rocks have not been broken down, but it is more of a choke, so as long as he can get the high ground,
he's got
might be okay.
Yeah, and he's got sentries here as well, so this is good. MaSa tried to get tricky here, but this time DnS did pick up on it. And DnS is actually just gonna jump right on top of these tanks, and he just crushes his army, as most of MaSa's reinforcements were still on the way. MaSa fought without the solid 20 army supply that he did have there, and he ended up losing all of his tanks. Very good trade for DnS.
And really, tanks look strong when they're hitting from the very get-go, and they focus fire on the sentries, which I think he missed. I think he actually accidentally targeted the Immortals. So that did not go as well as MaSa was hoping for. Now he has a 3rd that's still under construction that I don't think he's going to be able to defend. He's down in upgrades. In the blink of an eye, MaSa goes from being in okay position to having some trouble.
Yeah, MaSa was in a really good spot, and now I think it's actually quite an even game, perhaps even good for DnS, but DnS shouldn't commit here without a Prism. That would be a big mistake. He's warping in 7 more Zealots. He's got a lot of probes in his main, by the way. I'd love... If I was DnS right now, I'd say chill, DnS. Like, you just got an amazing trade. After a pretty rough early game, there's no need for you to be this aggressive. Go up to 4 bases, enjoy your upgrades, Chrono Boost the hell out of them. He's gonna try to break MaSa here, and whether it works or not, I think this is a very risky decision by DnS. This is exactly what I meant in the beginning of the game before the series started. I mean, he might crush this army, but it's still gonna get a scrappy game.
There's so much more army on the other side of the map for MaSa. It does mean a handful of Zealots, but that's not a very big army, and he's not even microing it. He tries to pick up the medevacs full of units and does save a lot of them, but his 3rd CC not lifted, targeted by those Immortals immediately, and DnS should be able to clean up this tiny job.
Yeah, well done there by DnS. DnS. A couple of the Zealots on the right side really slowed this down, and because of that, he had no problem at all dealing with this run by. A little bit crazy there in the end, going for it without a prism, but I guess DnS felt super comfortable after he killed those 3 tanks. I honestly think that what MaSa should have done is, instead of trying to get sneaky via the left side, just make the usual push via the right side. Enjoy all that open space, because MaSa had a big army, and if he would have taken the fight with all of his army, I honestly think DnS would have had a very tough time holding, but instead DnS was able to just capitalize on the mistake that MaSa made. A, not having his entire army there, and B, the tanks being very, very exposed.
Yeah, I mentioned that the farther you get into the game, the worse tanks are going to look. Charge outs do just eventually get better. They get right on top of them. But MaSa, whether he was going for the surprise factor or not, I mean, a lot of Terrans just assume that there's observers everywhere, to be honest. They're like, oh, what surprise factor? But if he was going for it, didn't work out. If he wasn't, he was obviously hoping that DnS might have been a little more hesitant, wouldn't have pushed in when he saw the army, when he saw the tanks still sieging. That was exactly what DnS should have done.
Like, I would have liked MaSa's move via the left side if this was a rough game for him. And obviously, very early on, it was rough because he didn't have a bunker. He ended up losing a bunch of Marines, a little bit of mining time. But DnS was careless with his Stalkers. He ate so many tank shots. And then MaSa had that great move as well, where he split off a couple of bio units. And if you pick off 5 Stalkers, Stalkers are expensive units in that phase in the game. And I really feel that for MaSa, there was no need to be sneaky there. There was no need to get funky. And obviously, if you fight all the way on the left top side, reinforcements take longer to arrive as well. Where if he would have just gone via the right side, then units run via the natural straight towards the army. Now they have to cross the map, and obviously that takes longer as well. I think MaSa left a massive opportunity there.
Yeah. We are going to be going into the 3rd game at Acid Plant. Sounds that weird. Acid Plant. So what will this be like? We had 2 short maps where MaSa, I think, very clearly was trying to abuse with his build. And now he's forced onto a very large map, a new map, where even if he has some ideas as to what he wants to do, there's been not even a week of being able to practice it.
What I would like to see here from MaSa is, once again, it's a tough time for Terrans, right? And if you do your usual builds, especially on a large map like this, I think Protoss is pretty much always going to be in a good position, especially with all that chrono boost, those quick tree-based builds of Protoss. I'd love to see MaSa open up with 3cc here, since DnS is also played that sometimes on these massive maps opens up with a Twilight. And if you open up with a Twilight, that means you get no eyes in the main base of your opponent. You don't have an Oracle, you don't have an Observer early on. So I think a 3cc build would make a lot of sense on paper.
That's a really good point. MaSa does definitely have 3cc builds in his back pocket. This guy actually has a build, like cheese build, surprise build, macro build. Like he actually does everything.
DnS could very well actually proxy a 2nd gate here at like 17 supply and just make some serious Stalker pressure. Because he may have looked at the previous game as like, if you're not going to build a bunker, you know, if you struggle that much against an Adept and a Stalker, what would happen if I proxy a gateway and you're going to face up 3, 4, 5 Stalkers early on?
I'd be very surprised if MaSa didn't do that build specifically and then also didn't get a bunker. Like, that just felt like he knew there would be enough Marines and tanks eventually. Anything else and he doesn't, well, yeah, he does kind of deserve to be proxy gated and destroyed. It's just a little too dangerous. But he also, I mentioned like the Widow Mine drop. You can definitely still play like a 2-base, solid 2-base build. But I also feel like the longer the game goes for him, the more his mentality about versus Protoss is going to set in. I mean, does anyone actually have an answer for when they have double forge chronoed up to 2-2? You know, like besides just really being the much better player.
He does love his Mass Liberator, and he loves advanced ballistics as well, I think, in some scenarios. So, you know, not all hope is lost for MaSa if this game goes, let's say, past 11 minutes. But it's safe to say that the first 5-6 minutes in this game are going to be crucial. We've got some more updates as well. Of course, the first day of DreamHack is always a little bit hectic because we don't have a simple bracket. We've got a lot of groups. And a couple more surprising results. Nice, our Taiwanese Protoss, took out Harstem in the Deciders match.
Wow.
So we've got Nice advancing to the round of 16. We also had Uthermal once again defeating Cyan, this time 2-0. So Uthermal, despite the fact that he's also been vocal about TvP, did manage to get the job done there. Nurcho took out Chem, so unfortunately for the Mexican Zerg, not really a follow-up yet to his very successful 2017. Well, yeah, a couple of fun results. Special also won his group over Snoot, but Snoot is a pretty big favorite to make it out 2nd place in that group.
Yeah, I think fun results is kind of the perfect word, because while they're set up to be a couple of really awesome upsets, it sounds like it didn't quite go that direction. Like, I expected some of the 2nd placers to be 2nd placers.
Yeah, the Taiwanese Protoss, Nice beating Harstem though, because I actually watched their first series as well, and yeah, Nice had really weird build orders. For instance, on Neon Violet Square, he opened up 2-gate, expand, but he took his pocket rocket expand on Neon Violet. You know, it's just really random. And he actually got himself in a good position, but in the end, he didn't close it out. So
Yeah.
I'm sure those were some wonky games. But yeah, disappointing result for Arstem. Great result for the Taiwanese Protoss.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was thinking, like, Thermal was on the ropes,
Yeah.
Scarlet was on the ropes against Stefano, of all people. Like, that's where I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually going to be the craziest tournament.
Well, Scarlet
so
still has to go up against Namchar. I think they are currently playing. Let's take a look if we know anything about that. It seems like it's 1-1 in the Deciders match. Oh, it
Ooh,
seems
update.
like... Yep, we just got an update from our producer. And Scarlet actually lost against Namchar. So that means that the Swedish Zerg will advance in second place. And Scandinavia dominating that group with Sero in first, Namchar second, Scarlet finishing in third place, and unfortunately Stefano ended up last.
Yeah, but awesome performance from Namchar. He's kind of been like, you know, the next best for a while.
Yeah, he's like this
Finally getting it.
gatekeeper Zerg,
Yeah.
right? Like, he's really good, but he's not Sero or Elaser, but he's really good, guys. But that's a great performance by Namchar.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are getting into the game. Seems like there is a bit of a technical problem perhaps with one of our observers, so it'll be coming up soon. But yeah, just a nice tournament so far. As I said, like, not as many upsets as I was like really afraid of, but still, that's, you know, Namchar maybe getting that really nice tournament he's been looking for.
And don't forget that we still have the Deciders match of Group H currently being played as well between Neep and Zenster. And some people may think like, that's an easy win for Neep, but they already went up against each other once, and that was only a 2-1. Zenster, of course, spent some time in Korea as well. He's been practicing hard over there, at least I hope. Otherwise, I mean, I know the food is great in Korea, but I assume that he practiced hard as well. So even our triple champ from 2017 still has a tough series ahead of him.
What's really clever about the placement, of course, in Korea is that the apartment's like kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's not in Seoul proper, so there's no reason to go outside. Nah, it looks like we finally got into this game. It is, as I said before, on Acid Plant, one of our newer maps. It is the ace match, so very important here. And we do have a couple of SCVs being sent out, at least, 2 in the top left, sending out those early SCVs. It is the blue Terran MaSa.
And if I look, that was a very early probe being sent out as well. So I actually think both players wanted to get a little cheeky here. Shout out to Colares. Over here on the right bottom side, we're looking in the main base of the French Protoss. It is DnS. Look at these probes. Probes and SCVs meeting each other in the middle of the map. Like, this is awkward.
That is very awkward. The other SCV just went for a scout, it looks like, in DNS's base. So, I mean, maybe they both recognize it could have been something. And in fact, MaSa does see that it was a forward gateway, which is a little bit odd.
This is so weird, though, because if you're MaSa right now, you lost so much mining time. If you send out 2 SCVs in the first 20 seconds of this game, that means you're sacrificing close to 20% of your economy trying to do a proxy. Yeah, exactly. The graph already shows it. That's a big loss. And now we see an eBay block as well. I love it. I love it. Madness.
What a weird opener to this game, but it is a lot better for MaSa not to commit to a proxy if there was any fear of the probe being there to kill the SCV. That's just absolutely terrible. And even if it doesn't happen like that, the knowledge is still powerful for the Protoss player.
And you can already see DNS actually slipping a little bit. That gateway was done a solid 5, 6, 7 seconds ago, but he had no probe on the low ground to build a cybernetics core. Then he warped in a pylon in the main, but that one wasn't done yet, so you had to grab the probe, send it all the way to the low ground, and on this level, delaying your cybercore for 6, 7 seconds in this phase in the game. Of course, he needs a Zealot anyway, but I'm sure he would have loved to have that cybercore a little bit quicker.
Yeah, of course, the engineering bay block does delay the command center of the Terrans too. So a lot of like wonky, tiny little differences of the opener. Lily MaSa a little afraid of those proxy pylons. Where did the probe go? It went to the middle of the map where there are gold bases. I mean, we didn't really talk about the map because it kind of almost started off super quickly and then got a little slowed. But the map does have gold bases, ones that you're not really going to touch for some time.
Okay, so MaSa is going to follow this up with a barracks. The tech lab, he's getting concussive shells as well. Perhaps expecting DNS once again to be aggressive with Stalkers, which I think he absolutely wants to do. But the Zealots should be able to give the heads up to the Stalkers that there is bad news waiting for you on the other side of the map. And the Stalkers of DNS should absolutely not go there, because against Marauders, that's not a fight you want to take early on if you don't have Blink.
A little bit of supply block, but it wasn't the factory follow-up that can be really devastating. You get Marauder slow and a Cyclone, and they don't have any scouting. The Observer gets there a little bit late. That could be punishing. Even if they do have scouting, it's a Stalker or something like that, it's kind of a freebie there too, so usually works out really well. Follow up with a bio. It's going to happen a little bit later, but this is going to be the reveal here for DNS. The Marauder first. It's got to be with slow. There you go.
And I love the Stalker on the other side of the map. It's like, oh, bad news. Turn around. Stalker was on its way to help the Zealot. He's like, nope, sorry. Against Marines, I would have gladly helped you. against the Marauder, I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a lot of protection for MaSa in the early game. It's not the aggressive push that it could have been, but on such a large map, I would have questioned it for sure. It would have been a lot of time for DnS to scout it and prepare.
Now, if you're DnS, right, and you scout this, you scout the barracks, you scout the tech lab, you scout the Twilight Console, a very common opening was a 2-Rex, right? A couple of Marines and a couple of Marauders. No stim, just concussive shells. But it's actually a 3-Rex opening. We see a Dark Shrine as well. This game is just madness, guys. There are so many little mind games going on between these two. But it is important for DnS that he figures out that this is a 3-Rex. Because MaSa's idea right now, at least what I expect to happen, is just get a lot of bio units eventually and close your eyes, almost stim in, and hope you kill everything.
Sometimes that works. He is significantly delaying his factory for that +1 so fast. He does want to tangle a little bit with the Stalkers. I don't really know
Shield battery?
Yeah, with the shield battery, they should not grab anything. And this was kind of a question mark perhaps for MaSa to lose to these Marauders.
Yep, I think a build like this with these concussive shells Marauders, that's awesome on the smaller maps. But the larger the map is, you know, instead of 2 Stalkers, you face 3 Stalkers. And since this game opened up so weird as well, there's always a good chance there's going to be a shield battery. Now we're going to get a proxy pylon for those Dark Templars. MaSa has no eBay. Remember, he built an eBay early on, but obviously that eBay... Oh, he does have an eBay, never mind. Sorry, he's researching +1, but he doesn't have any missile turrets yet.
Right, yeah, he's not going to just automatically prepare. And unfortunately, when you go for a 3-Rex like this, those Marauders didn't scout anything. They scouted what they would expect to see.
Yeah.
If you went for a factory starport opener, the Widow Mine drop almost always sees the 2-base DT. It's now missing, but a cautionary missile turret does go down. Where is it going down
perfect.
at? The front. That's exactly what he needed to do.
Okay, but these bio units need to stay home, though. I don't think MaSa saw it yet. MaSa not paying attention. Oh, it's just like a split second, and the turret is not done yet. Good job, though, on raising those depots.
As long as the main isn't compromised or stim wasn't canceled, okay, that did finish, then it's okay.
He got the second one as well, actually. Since that turret finished up, there was a Dark Templar on the right side. That got picked off, too. So not that bad for MaSa. A problem still is that he's down 10 army supply. But, you know, like I said, he has a lot of bio units. 27 army supply against 14. Just blink is not going to be enough. This is a scary, scary phase in the game for DnS. I've been in this position a lot of times. He's going to need excellent Blinkstalker Micro, but even if you have great Blinkstalker Micro, these are Marauders with Stim, with +1, and with concussive shells, so it's not easy to micro your way out of this.
And because Blink only just finished, he really didn't get any unnecessary stims. This is when MaSa wanted to stim up the ramp into the Stalkers, gets a lot of damage on them. Any further stim is going to be very painful, but the shield battery can only last for so long, and MaSa is going to get at least an effective trade.
Yep, he got quite a few Stalkers already, and he's not done yet. He's right on top of these other Stalkers as well. Look at these Marauders go. 6, 7, 8 Stalkers already went down. I don't think DnS is going to die here, of course, but he lost a lot of expensive units, and that means that his upgrades and stuff are going to be later. Upgrades you desperately need against the way that MaSa is playing.
Yeah, this +1 was so fast. Now, it does delay the +1 armor. He's got to fit in the starport eventually, and that did just finish.
He got 11 probes as well. What?
Yeah.
He got all those Stalkers and 11 probes?
Yeah, that's the key thing, though. All the Stalkers as well. So the follow-up, it looks really silly, and like maybe I don't like it still. It's only a handful of units, and it was across a huge map. It grabs a pylon and gets out of there.
Yeah.
Those might be chased down.
I mean, I think he can, if he blinks forward one more time, MaSa's going to turn around and take at least 1 Stalker. I think MaSa can get 1 Stalker, maybe even 2. Yeah, there you go, you guys can blink.
Yeah, they couldn't even micro. They got stuck up against the wall. He's going to take out 2 Stalkers there. And the DT did not reveal itself, but this has been a pretty good game for MaSa. The one problem that he could have had was letting those DTs buy so much time, but that cautionary missile turret ended up being perfect, and then DnS didn't quite have enough on the backside.
It's a beautiful game by MaSa. I love that push, even though this is quite a large map. That 3-Rex push with Stim against somebody like DnS who lost open Blink Stalkers. Is it impossible to hold for DnS? No, absolutely not. But it's hard, and you make one bad blink, like we saw. He blinked in front of his gateways and his cybercore there as well, and you're trapped. MaSa did such a good job in collapsing right on top of those Stalkers, and this is a bad scenario for DnS. He's going to be forced to use recall as well. But, I mean, what is he going to do? If he blinks forward there, he's going to lose a few more Stalkers if DnS would have stuck around.
This must be such an uncomfortable game for DnS. So I finally get something here at this scan going down, 2 scans going down to land a 3rd CC.
Dropping the main.
But the
oh, wow,
uncomfortable...
MaSa sent the medevac back, and I think he lost the entire medevac. So
he did. But it distracted to the left side a little bit. Maybe MaSa doesn't want to commit. He checks actually prior because there's no medevacs with that army. He's actually trying to play maybe a little bit over-aggressive again on such a big map. But DnS must be uncomfortable, you know? He did go into the Robo that quickly. He doesn't have any observers. That one DT was the one scout he's going to have for some time because he also has all the Blink Stalkers, so no map presence.
I think uncomfortable is the perfect word, because if you use recall at the 7-minute mark to teleport just 3 units to help against a single drop, you know it's been an uncomfortable game. This has been a very messy game. Can we take a look at how many Stalkers have gone down and how many Marauders already? Because this feels like a fresh game. 12 Stalkers in an 8-minute game, 11 Marauders, 22 Marines. But DnS does have his double Forge on the way, and we all know that double Forge, that's magic for Protoss.
Yeah, if the Protoss can properly utilize their Chronos, like really make the smart decisions here, like maybe they could off on one upgrade but not the other, maybe they get an Immortal instead of you know, something else, it can work out. But he is going to be missing Splash for some time. Storm's like a way far off thought for him. And this push into the middle of the map, I guess it's not going to be scouted by MaSa, but MaSa's supply is pretty good.
This is such a typical DnS thing to do. I feel like this has been a very scrappy game where you lost a lot of Stalkers, and DnS is like, you know what? I've got a Prism. I've got 1-1 finishing up. Let's run to the other side of the map. Like, this is madness to me. I don't understand what triggers him to do this, but he is avoiding this army. MaSa's already getting very quick ghosts, by the way.
Yeah.
And if EMPs rain down on top of that Protoss army, it's gonna have a tough time. There is no Storm, like you said, no Colossus, obviously, so EMP really hurts.
I'm not sure if he thought to get that nuke. I guess he did, yeah, with Mogus Reactor. But that army was a big surprise, and it's going to be equally a surprise for DnS on his third base. That's going to go down. DTs might be a key to victory here if it turns into a base trade.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, never base trade a Terran. That in general doesn't really end that well for the Protoss. But like you said, Dark Shrines are very useful. That Orbital is going to fall very quickly. There are a few mines on the high ground as well. EMPs did some damage, but it's hard to go up that ramp, though.
Oh, that's loss of the CC is brutal, of course, just for the economy, but also for the scans. Another scan goes down. If he could find the Dark Shrine, that would have been very useful, but he sees the recall and is saying, okay, base for a base, literally trading bases here, and things normalize a little bit.
I don't like it that much for DnS with the tech that he currently has. I think there are some scenarios where you could say base for a base is all right. Right now, I don't think it's all right. He is down 14 workers. Now, of course, he did kill an Orbital, so MaSa doesn't really have space to saturate like 61 workers over 2 bases. But with these armies, I think Ghost can really reign supreme in the big battle, if we are going to see a big battle soon.
Before that almost panic moment of a base trade, I was going to mention that sometimes MaSa's fast Ghost, because he seems to like them, puts him in trouble against someone who actually does end up going Colossus. But a lot of Protoss just kind of did it with Colossus completely, and this ended up being the absolute correct call. If it was an army versus army fight, I think MaSa wins 100% with a couple of good EMPs. Yeah. DnS is not in a good position, but in a way, like, it probably was better that he base traded, at least put it into a bit of a funky position.
Yeah, I mean, you look at DnS's bank right now, 900 gas, 700 minerals. It's either you get a bunch of Archons, but against the Ghosts, it's not impossible, don't get me wrong, but Ghosts are kind of strong against everything that DnS has right now. I would love to see a second Robo Bay. And you can always try... Doesn't he already... Okay, he has a Dark Shrine, but now he wants to get a Templar Archives as well. I would have preferred a second Robo and a Robo Bay here, especially because he's got those double upgrades as well. And if Colossus pop with 2-2, they matter immediately.
Yeah, I think that would have been a really big surprise for MaSa. He's not getting too much scouting. Well, I said that. Marine just walks in to the main base, sees the Forge is still being Chrono. He's going to be able to see, this is perfect, sees the Templar Archives, and there's no doubt in his mind that EMPs are the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep building Ghosts as well.
Whoa.
Oh, MaSa's going to go for a big drop. DnS doesn't have many observers at all, though. He does have one observer here in a very crucial spot, and I think he saw it. Look at those units on the right side. Oh my god, MaSa.
This could be it. This could actually be a way to throw a pretty good game for MaSa. It's not going to work out well. There is a lot of dead space to the very right side, but they're going to intercept. They see it. The blink forward is a little too soon, and MaSa was paying attention. Boost away with so many important units.
That would have been absolutely game-ending if those medevacts would have gone down with some really precious cargo inside of them as well. Those expensive Ghosts. The armies, 103 army supply against 101, but if you don't have splash damage, that is an advantage for the Terran guys, especially with all these Ghosts in the mix as well. Dark Templars could force out a couple scans. I like this for MaSa, but obviously Force Fields, Immortals, Archons, maybe DnS can hold, but the EMP should be very, very crucial here.
That was a bit of a miss there, but there's so many more EMPs. They hit all the sentries, a lot of the Archons. DnS was trying to split. There might not be enough backbone of the bio, however. Some of the Archons aren't doing very much, but they're also not dying on the front lines. Awkward reinforcements from the north are taking care of too. and MaSa's the one that has to leave.
Yeah, with those 2 upgrades, good fight there by DnS. Those Widow Mines did more friendly fire. He tried to blink up high ground there, but he didn't have vision. I felt the mines were not really working out there for DnS, and DnS has still been harassing. So now it's actually 51 against 49 workers. But DnS hasn't built workers in a long time, at least that's what it feels like.
Yeah, if this was a planetary, the MaSa is not really worried, but without it, it doesn't look like DnS is going to push in, so it's okay. But MaSa really needs to, I mean, properly estimate, basically. He was down in upgrades for that fight. It was a bit wonky because he was the one pushing up a ramp.
Yeah.
Some of his reinforcements were like still coming. And
if DnS goes up a ramp, though, there's just no way, right? Against EMPs, against supply depots as well. And that sounds weird, guys, but supply depots really mess with Zealots. They mess with Archons because they have short range as well. DnS should not commit to going up this ramp. Look at the amount of Ghost. That's insane.
I'm a little worried, though. Ghosts don't have bad DPS, but he made a lot of them, and they're expensive.
He's got 16 Ghosts. He's got more Ghosts than Marines.
Oh, also, by the way, don't forget that he has a nuke, I believe.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he could, I don't know if he realized he got it. He did also get Mobius Raptor eventually, but if he was worried, he could set up a nuke just to say, okay, do not come near me.
No, I agree with you. I love Ghosts, and Ghosts are a little bit tanky as well, so they're useful. EMP is great. But when you have more Ghosts than Marines, I mean, you need some Marines as well for the DPS in the backbone of your army. You land EMPs and then Marines can finish off units very quickly. But if you got more Ghosts than Marines, this is kind of bizarre.
I feel like this is one of the situations where Marines are really good too, because it is not Storm, and the Archons are going to get EMP'd away, so just consistent high damage with +3 would be amazing, but instead he has 3 tech labs.
Oh, he's going to nuke.
Oh, he's going to go for the nuke. And he's been using those tech labs for, of course, Marauders. He's even still stalling out more bioproduction because he's adding on structures, Starport, Liberators, upgrades. But that makes me really worried. MaSa, I think he's going to buy some time with this nuke.
This is panic right now for DnS. You're going to hear nuclear launch detected. You're going to look at every base, and hopefully you find the red dot.
He immediately found it. Nicely done. So that might make him push into the army. There's no army here, actually.
No, the army of the MaSa is very far out of position, and that's good news for DnS. Now he's going to be able to kill this planetary. But normally this is not an army where you want to fight near a planetary because you don't have Colossus or High Templar. The nuke definitely unpowered at least those gates, did a little bit of damage. At the same time, MaSa is going to kill DnS's fort base. What a deciding match we have on our hands here.
We're back to a base trade, it seems. Just took another 9 minutes. I don't know how this is going to go. Using Ghost in a base trade, they don't have Sim, although their speed was increased a while ago. It's going to be difficult. If he had more Liberators, I'd give this to the Terran almost 100%, but there's only like 1 or 2.
I still don't think that DnS can really run into the main base. He is killing all the additional bases though, but MaSa's doing the same thing. Maybe DnS can recall his army. I think that maybe DnS should recall here. He should keep that last mining base alive or go for the main. Yes, he is going to go for the recall. MaSa's going to back off. Can MaSa kill the other Nexus? That is crucial right now.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to go to the other Nexus. He also missed an opportunity to maybe stop the upgrades.
Drop a nuke.
He's getting a nuke. I don't think he has one anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he
is there an observer?
Oh, there's no observer. The EMPs go down. The Ghosts are getting free damage. And DnS realized this to just stop. He realizes where the observers are rallied to. Oh no, MaSa. MaSa has to realize there's observers now.
Yes, he could potentially scan. They're both on top of his army, so they can both get picked off immediately. MaSa's staying around here for a long time. He's going to EMP the observers, and he's going to get them, so at least the Ghosts will live. But MaSa lost almost everything else. Look at the amount of energy on these Ghosts, though. They should be able to kill a lot of probes, if not the Nexus.
Yeah, they will. The nuke, though. Don't run into your own nuke. Look, God. All right, he's not going to get very much, but 45 probes went down. MaSa still has an orbital or 2, and I'm still not sure how to call this game.
I think it's 1, though, right? Or did he rebuild the natural?
He has a natural and a main orbital.
Yeah, okay, so he's got 2 orbitals. I mean, that's useful. Again, don't forget about the Dark Shrine as well. We could still get some DTs here and there. What a bizarre game. DnS on 74 army supply, MaSa at 62 with Ghosts and Liberators, I want to say, but it's only 2 Liberators. It's 14 workers against 17. It seems like DnS wants to pull the probes, but then he changes his mind. DnS has money, so he's going to drop another base. Did he lose his Robo, or why is he getting a second Robo? Yeah, he lost his Robo.
And he also lost the Cybernetics core, so he's had to kind of restart his production, his tech trade here.
Imagine the damage those Ghosts could have done. Because he
right?
killed the observers and there is no robo. Those ghosts could have killed everything.
Yeah.
They had
MaSa.
200 energy each.
Wait, well, where's the observer here?
He has no observer. He lost both of them and he has no
that's right.
robo.
He never rebuilt it. The robo just finished. It's actually still not finished.
MaSa, you can just...
Unfortunately, finding the army, MaSa can't even believe it. Like, truly you have an observer somewhere. Where's it coming in here? But he would have been able to do a lot of free damage. Now he realizes it, so he's pushing, cutting him off with the third base. EMPs will take care of the DTs with no scan available, but there are plenty. Third base goes down, and DnS has just got to hope that maybe he doesn't find the would-be fourth or natural, whatever you want to call it, but he finds it.
MaSa made a mistake at choosing Delphi against Neve. He's not going to make that mistake again. He gets a cancel on this one as well. DnS right now, not enough money to rebuild a Nexus, by the way. Could potentially cancel something, but the Observer is still not here. A couple of Arcans get picked off, and MaSa's like, do you really have no ops if you don't have any ops? Can he see it? Does he see it?
I don't know if he sees it, but he has plenty of EMPs to try and hit it. Actually, it might be running out a little bit.
Oh
there
my
it
God,
is.
MaSa.
The Observer is gone, and what about DTs? You have ghosts that don't have observers on them. Finally, some sweet revenge, Terran players.
What a great game by MaSa. There is one more observer out on the map. I think the moment he kills that one, that's going to be the end of the detection. But by now, DnS has been bleeding out an insane amount of units. It's 25 army supply against 60. I think it's all over.
I think MaSa has done it, but what a final game. DnS has to go up his own ramp to try and take care of this army, but MaSa is now back to mining, and DnS has to GG. Well done to MaSa, 2-1 over his Protoss opponent to make it through.
My goodness, what a series by MaSa there. Very well done. Some excellent builds, especially that last game. Just madness. Both players wanting to sort of cheese early on. Probes, eBay blocks, like this game is like, 1 in 100. You just don't see a lot of games like this. MaSa defeated DnS earlier in this group stage 2-0, and he does it again in a decidus match 2-1.
Can't believe the games that we have had. I mean, the first two being pretty much the same build. DnS getting a little bit smarter, a little bit tighter on the build, and then that last one is just, the wrench was thrown into it. The new map, the NG blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, just the double base trade, I guess I'll call it, happened more than once.
The EMP observer snipes, the robo snipes, the 12 goals that just go completely uncontested. Don't see that very often. Awesome series. Very, very impressed by the performance of our Canadian Terran, who is once again going to make it into the playoffs of a WCS Circuit event. He's on the stage with Anna, and I believe they're ready. So Anna, take it away.
We are ready. In fact, MaSa was just telling me your palms are stinging. Why is that?
Yeah, because I was clapping way too hard.
You were excited about the result of that game.
Yes, of course.
Tell us a little bit about that last game, because we were all backstage going, yes, this is the kind of last game we wanted. How did it look from your perspective?
I guess we don't mind nerf. That my how do you call it, characteristic back then was putting Widow Mines everywhere before the nerf, of course. But now, because there's no Widow Mine nerf, I'm doing it with Ghost.
Yeah, we loved watching that game being so close, but maybe that was more stressful for you, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Now you have emerged victorious, you're moving forward in the tournament. Is this the result you expected out of this match?
Not at all. I just wanted to hit round of 16, which is my goal. But I wish I can hit round of 8 with no Protoss.
Okay, yeah, you're looking for that round of 8, and do you think that you have what it takes to maybe win this tournament?
No, not win, but as long as there's no Protoss.
Okay, as long as there's no Protoss, that's the condition. Anything you want to say to your fans out there before we close it out tonight?
Thanks for cheering for me always. I'm literally the only Terran left from NA besides Special, so root for me.
We'll have to do that. Thank you so much, MaSa. Congratulations. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Anna. A phenomenal series to end the night out of MaSa, and what a way to cap it out. EMPing observers and sniping robos for those cloak boys to do some damage.
I mean, elimination map, elimination series for MaSa and for DnS, and he pulls out that play. The balls in this kid. That is so sick. I'm
Just
a huge MaSa fan right now.
Insane, right? How often do you see a Protoss not losing to mass EMP, but losing to the Observer going down and the Ghost just firing away consistently? And just insane.
Yeah, that was, I think that's one of those things you don't really get to see in StarCraft.
Yeah.
We're always so cautious about that, right? You see a Protoss army show up, they've got multiple observers, or you've got defensive cannons, but it got into a really funny, scrappy situation, especially considering that it opened the other way with the cloaked units, with the DTs coming out of DnS. And I think that shaped up to be the match that we were hoping for.
Oh, yeah. That's what a way to end the night, man. That's got my heart beating. I don't know if I'll sleep properly tonight. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably get a good rest, but
yeah,
now the blood's pumping. I don't know.
Yeah, that was, man, that's what Terran dreams are made of. We almost got to see a cool nuke land as well. No juicy money nukes, but
just juicy MPs.
Yeah, really good. So we had a lot of great games today, a lot of great results. I think we're going to go over some of the group results, as a lot of them should have sorted themselves out during that match. We had Cyril and Namshar advance, so no Scarlet and no Stefano in the round of 16.
Yeah, it feels bad, man, but unfortunately, Cyril and Namshar are really good at CVZ, so it's not actually a huge shock either.
Cool to see Namshar coming out this far ahead. MaSa will now advance with Sort of out of his group. Sort of wasn't feeling too confident in his play today, but maybe he'll be feeling better tomorrow, as he was saying. Bly will advance with Euthermal.
Yeah, I mentioned in the cast, like, with Bly getting on top of Euthermal is great, but I honestly thought that Euthermal would come through a second. Seems to be the case. It's good to see.
I think this is one of the more interesting results that we have. Showtime gets out with
Nice.
Huge. How about that?
I was watching this game, and Nice threw some really crazy stuff in. I mean, we can jump in for a quick moment if we can, because just this moment where Horston realizes his tournament is probably over is probably pretty deadly, because it involved a Warp Prism and a Sentry and a Force Field on the main ramp. It wasn't pretty.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was right here. So it's this moment where Horston's like, oh yeah, he's one base on me, look at my shield batteries. And Nice is just like, yeah, I don't care about your shield batteries. I'm just going to jump up here.
Oh, that Stalker elevator.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. The 1 base, 4 gate Warp Prism was what sealed the deal in that best of 3.
That's a nasty way to go. Oh my goodness.
China hype, man. Good to see Nice doing so well.
Yeah, Hero Marine advances with Nurchio. Nurchio clawing his way back from what seemed to be a little bit of a rocky start in this tournament as Chim's eliminated. And Special advances out of his group, and I guess Snoot must be playing in that final map versus yours right now.
Yeah, my boy Cameron Foster from the sunny shores of Australia trying to fight his best, but Snoot, that's a tough mountain to climb.
Yep, a laser, of course, as we saw, advanced out of his group, but True comes out of the decider against TLO. 2-1, and True slowly creeping his way without us talking about him too.
Yeah, True's been looking pretty good online lately. He's been practicing a lot, I know, so good to see him getting his results. But this was another crazy one in Group H. Lambo took down Neeb in the winners match.
Pretty crazy, considering Neeb coming out 3 championships last year, as that match is going to resolve itself very soon. I think that is just about it for today. Any of your final thoughts on that last series? Any of the results that we had? Anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
I mean, incredible start to the season, incredible start to this event. Nate, we're only in day 1. Day 2's got like 8 best of 5s or something. It's going to be incredible. Tons of games, tons of casts. Really a tough tournament to predict now when you see Neeb even having a tough time getting out of his group. It's not a sure thing at the moment.
No, very, very, very tense situation for the Americans watching at home.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's just like non-stop upsets, I feel like. There's some players, you know, you expect them to get far, but nothing's predictable right now in this event, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say the results of that Neeb match, very big deal. Whichever stream that one's playing on, that's some scary stuff. But that does do it for us here on the main stream here for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here at Leipzig. We'll see you all tomorrow bright and early as we make our way into the round of 16 to find our champion for the first circuit event of 2018. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great night.